Good morning, Mets fans, and welcome to a Thursday edition of Driving with Mr. Met. I am Mr. Met, and I'm back after almost week-long hiatus. But I wasn't not watching the Mets, and that's okay because they played pretty well the last couple of days. Monday was at the game at Citi Field, and yesterday the Mets actually scored 8 runs for Jacob deGrom, which makes you think that maybe the world is ending or something. But anyhow, I'm going to talk about the Reds series, and I'm going to talk about the upcoming series with the Marlins. But more importantly, I want to touch on a rumor that I read, or a story that I read yesterday about searching for the next center fielder. So having been to the game on Monday, it brings my Citi Field record this year in Mets games to 3-0, which is amazing considering how poor the Mets have played at home. Small sample size, but you know, I'd like to consider myself undefeated at home. My road record is not so great. I'm 0-2 on the road, so still 3-2 for the season. That is a winning record. 2 more outings, both of them with the 7-line army, at least at this point. I don't know that I'm going to be back to Citi Field, but the 7-line games are the Nationals in DC, and the Red Sox in Boston. Not sure I like the Mets odds in either of those games, but we'll see. It's a full month away. So anyhow, yeah, the Mets played a pretty interesting series with the Reds. You know, the Syndergaard started Monday. He was good. deGrom started yesterday. He was deGrom, the great, the best. He's just too good. I mean, he's just too good. And finally, after 51 days, he gets himself a win. In the stretch of the 0-5 stretch that he just got finished going through, he was just unbelievably good as far as his numbers, and he never let this just garbage team that plays behind him get to him. He plays his game. He throws his game. He knows what he's doing. He's the best pitcher in baseball. And by God, I hope he wins the Cy Young with 9 wins this year, because he will absolutely deserve it. Sandwiched in between the Syndergaard and deGrom starts was a 14-pitch Jason Vargas start that was cut short by rain, which is probably good, because otherwise it would have been cut short by him not being a good pitcher. The Reds were all over him in the first inning. He had already given up 1 run by the time the Thunder and Lightning started striking, and the players ran off the field. But he clearly was going to be serving up meatballs to the Reds, and the Reds do have a really good offense. They would have absolutely feasted on him, and he wouldn't have gone much longer than 1 inning anyway. It turned out to be a bullpen game, which the bullpen didn't do great. Paul Sewald came in and threw gasoline on the fire at the end of the rain delay. But, you can't win them all. So the Mets ended up losing on Tuesday. But they won yesterday to give themselves a series win. After yesterday's game, they have an off day today, which I didn't realize. I don't know why, but I had looked at the schedule like a week ago and saw this crazy stretch, and I thought it had started already. It starts tomorrow. Tomorrow is the start of a consecutive 22-game stretch across 21 consecutive days with no off days. Some crazy travel involved, and it's coming up. So they kick that off on the road with the Marlins starting tomorrow night. And that'll be interesting because the Mets always seem to play down to the Marlins. And Gary pointed out yesterday on the broadcast, the Marlins have 3 regulars, or maybe even 4 regulars batting .285 or better. Boy, imagine what the Mets might look like if they actually had 4 players who could perform on offense. It's amazing to think about that. The Marlins have a decent offense, and we'll see what happens when the Mets pitchers head into the giant park that will more than likely be quite empty tomorrow. Last thing I want to talk about real briefly today is a story I read yesterday about the Mets' search for a new center fielder, and that new center fielder may already be in the organization. So by the headline, I'm intrigued a little bit, because I'm thinking, okay, maybe they're going to put some stock in Lagares. You know that Cespedes isn't going to be back for at least half of a year next year, if not more. You're going to be able to slot Conforto in left field. Question mark next to Bruce whether he comes back. I think he will, and he'll be in right field, which then leaves center field as the question mark. Well, why not stick Juan Lagares and Brandon Nimmo in center field? Well, no, that's not what the story was about. The story was about Amed Rosario being a center field candidate. And all I can do is shake my head at that and hope that it's just like reaching reporting. Because at this point, I'm not even convinced that Rosario is the future shortstop of this team. And now we're talking about switching positions. I don't understand the logic behind the things that this team does, other than cheapness, which, you know, might make some sense. But if the Mets wanted a legitimate center fielder, they could have signed Lorenzo Cain this offseason. Lorenzo Cain, by the way, was an all-star for the Brewers, having a fantastic season. Yes, he's being paid a lot more than Jay Bruce, but think about where the Mets might be if they had Lorenzo Cain patrolling center field every day. Instead, we have some combination of Austin Jackson, who actually hasn't been that bad since signing with the Mets, but it's just amazing that this team can't seem, and this organization can't seem to get anything right. It's like we went out and signed another corner outfielder, even though we had a plethora of corner outfielders. And now that we've done that and invested that money, we now know that that corner outfielder is of no value to us because A, he's hurt, and B, we have other corner outfielders. Well, it's like, no shit, Sherlock. You're paying money to a middle-aged guy, baseball terms, that is, who's probably on the downside of his career, who can't play anything other than right field. And look, I like Jay Bruce, and I like the Jay Bruce signing. But if you really needed a center fielder, if you felt like that was an area of concern, you had a legit center field option on the free agent market last year. And I do not want to hear the Mets talk about putting Amed Rosario in center field. He's never played there before. He never should. Leave Rosario alone at shortstop and let him develop into the player that Baseball America thought he would become. Start messing around with a guy like that, and you're in trouble. And that's just a very typical Mets thing. So knowing that it's a bad idea, we all know that that's what the Mets are going to end up doing, that we'll see Rosario in center field before the end of the year. And it'll be Mickey Callaway who has to be the sacrificial lamb, talking about how we think he profiles pretty well out there as a speedster to be able to go after balls and track things down. You know, it'll be Mickey who has to take the bullet for the Wilpons and their stupidity. But hey, whatever. I'm not even that angry right now. We're coming off of 2 wins out of the last 3 games. It's a happy day. So the Mets have an off day today. They can't lose again, you know. So 2 days in a row with no losses, I'll take it. The Mets do head into Miami tomorrow, though, to play the Marlins, kicking off a 3-game set. I will be back on Monday of next week to discuss and figure out how the Mets wound up finishing up that series with the Marlins. So until then, I thank you for watching. Follow me on Twitter at Mr_Met. And as always, let's go Mets.